Bill Belichick. But yesterday, Kraft implied there were still issues when he was asked how they've handled the Super Bowl loss. Let's take a listen.
We met, and I meet individually with each of them. But the thing that I don't know if it's completely understood, that Bill and Tom communicate and meet a lot and spend a lot of time communicating. And I think the residual of this loss, was really hard on everyone. But I sort of see that as a high-class problem because I sat in the stands when we never were in the playoffs. When I think about tension, I think about my first year as an owner. And I love Bill Parcells, but, if you knew him as a coach, the players walked on eggshells. And maybe ownership did, as we went down the learning curve of how to get along. And it was a great lesson for me to learn and train and try to understand how to be a good owner and at the same time how to work with a very strong and powerful coach. And I think, the so-called tension gets greater when you lose.
Shannon, how big of a problem is this for the Patriots?
This is a big deal because Mr. Kraft is still addressing it. And the underlying thing, he used Coach Parcells as a reference. But guess what happened with Coach Parcells? He left. Bill Belichick's still there. Tom Brady's still there. He said, high-class problem. See, Skip, those are the worst problems to have. You know why? Because you can't throw money at them and make them go away. This has nothing to do with money. This has everything to do with who gets the credit. When we talk about those great Packers teams, they're Lombardi Packers. They don't talk about Bart Starr. He was great, Hall of Fame. They don't say Nitsky. They don't say Horning or Jim Taylor. Lombardi Packers. Now, Skip, there was a dichotomy working in San Francisco. Bill Walsh, Joe Montana. Bill Walsh and Joe Montana. Bill Walsh retires. Joe Montana go gets another one. Now Joe Montana is most responsible. Who is most responsible for what's going on in New England? Coach Belichick believed he could find out. Give me Jimmy G, and I can win a Super Bowl here. All he needs is win one. Tom Brady says, hey, it's me. All I need to do is win one without you. The tension's still there. You can meet all you want to. You slap that man's hand. Tom Brady's looking at Coach Belichick. Coach Belichick, I've been with you for 18 years. 5 of those, at the end of the season, we've been the happiest of all the NFL teams. 12 times we've been to the AFC Championship game. Coach Belichick say, Bob Kraft, I've been with you for 20 years. And I've won you 5 Super Bowls. And you tell me no? You see, the thing is what he talks about here, again, I reference Coach Parcells. Coach Parcells was a lifer, was a football lifer. Mr. Kraft was a novice. So Coach Parcells was throwing his weight around because Mr. Kraft didn't know any better. But as Mr. Kraft started to grow, he's like, hold on, wait a minute. You can't talk to me like that. I signed your check. If I say this how it goes, this how it goes. And guess what happened? Mr. Kraft, he's a small man by stature, short, but not in stature, but in height. Stood up. Bill, I pay your salary. This is what I'm telling you to do. I'm not asking you. This is what I'm telling you to do. Coach Belichick still have that grudge. Because see, Skip, that's the only time I believe that he's ever told Coach Belichick no. And Coach Belichick and Tom Brady, they can meet until the cows come home. But Tom Brady knows that Coach Belichick was willing to part ways with him to prove that he is the mastermind behind all of this. And all of this success is because of BB. So Mr. Kraft can try to put a nice spin on it all he wants to. But this is not going away. This is going to be an undercurrent, and the other's trying to wait the other out because I want credit. Because if whoever wins one without the other, there'll be no doubt who's the responsible party.
I am with you every step of the way on this. This is the 3rd time publicly Robert Kraft has acknowledged he has a problem. He's 3 times called it a problem. And I remind you what he said the morning before the AFC Championship game in Foxborough on NFL Network. He said, there's a lot of strong-minded people here, but when you have something good going, everybody's got to get their egos checked in and try to hold it together. So he's imploring Brady, Belichick, just try to swallow some of your pride and realize we got it good here.
We got a golden goose.
They got a golden goose, and it was golden that afternoon against Jacksonville, right?
Yep.
And it's another Brady comeback, and Super Bowl, here we come. And it doesn't feel the same now.
No.
Because it didn't work in the Super Bowl for many various reasons, even though the quarterback threw for the most yards in playoff game history. But now at the league meetings, the owners' meetings, Mr. Kraft has to sit back and try to spin it into, we have a high-class problem, meaning a great problem that every other team in this league would love to have our problem. But it's still a problem. And he can't fix it unless somebody goes.
Yeah, exactly.
And right now, he's holding on for dear life. Let's try it again one more time and hope they can keep their egos in check and make it work. But it started to unravel when, after Belichick, for the first time, as you point out, got overruled by the owner, he gave away Jimmy Garoppolo. And he had already given away a Jacoby Brissett, who's now hot on the trade market. Everybody's trying to trade for Jacoby Brissett because he showed some ability last year.
Yeah.
He showed he could be a starting quarterback and be pretty good. And a lot of teams want him probably as a quality backup quarterback, but somebody might want him as a starter. So you gave him away to Indy. You gave away Jimmy G to the young coach that you love and you've mentored in Kyle Shanahan. And then all of a sudden your quarterback winds up with a gash in his hand and you just openly ridicule it. You just did. You just ridiculed it. It was a media circus, not a football.
Rob Parker, he poo-pooed it.
He poo-pooed it. He completely poo-pooed it. Well, that's just like you're being openly disdainful of your franchise quarterback that you wanted to ease into the sunset after this year, right? And now we get to the Super Bowl, and inexplicably, you don't play Malcolm Butler for one defensive snap after he played the most defensive snaps during the regular season? Of anybody? How do you explain that, Mr. Kraft? Do you think Robert Kraft has had that conversation with Bill Belichick? And you dared to?
And you and I talked about it on Friday. When have you known the Coach Belichick to show up at a basketball game during week of the Super Bowl?
I don't know.
I'm like, either he feels awful confident that his team's going to win, or he just like, take this, Mr. Kraft.
Heck with it, yeah.
I mean, because this is what this is about, Skip. This is all this is about.
Yeah.
This is about credit, because it's going to go down in history. Lombardi Packers, Joe Montana 49. Because just look at the stuff that Bill Walsh is creating. So we'd have never known. Because was it Bill Walsh or was it Joe Montana? But when Joe goes out there and hangs 55 points on the Broncos in Super Bowl and they win again, okay, well, Joe's the reason why.
Yeah.
That's what we got to have. The history books. Who in the history books, when we write this chapter, when we close this chapter, sometimes, Skip, you got to know, you got to turn the page. Sometimes you close the book. Right now, we're flipping pages, Joy. When we close this book, what's going to be written? Who's responsible for this? Somebody got to be responsible. We can't, 50-50. 50-50 doesn't work. It doesn't work in this situation. Somebody got to get the credit. And Coach Belichick wants to know. Get Tom, if you let me have Jimmy G, I could have proved it.
Yep. So, as you always point out, obviously, Coach Belichick can coach much longer than Tom Brady can play, even though Brady says, I would like to play till I'm 45, 3-4 more years.
Right.
Coach Belichick, arguably, could coach until he's 80. I don't know, right? He could coach for 10, 12.
At least another 5. Let's use conservative say another 5 years.
But clearly, he has the capacity to coach longer than Tom plays.
Right.
So, obviously, all Robert Kraft wants is a 6th Super Bowl ring, so he's just hoping to hang on for dear life, keep the egos in check. Maybe he can try to govern it, manage it from on high, and try to get them through another year in which they will be favored going into next year to win another Super Bowl, right? Because they're currently favored.
Yes.
But here's what could force Robert Kraft's hand. at what point, and a lot of people thought at the end of Tom versus Time that Tom seemed down, and he seemed to be suggesting that he's talking about when you don't have conviction, you know, when your conviction wanes, then you shouldn't be doing it anymore.
Correct.
And some people took that like a negative, like I'm having second thoughts about this. If at any point Tom Brady says, Mr. Kraft, I need to sit down with you, Mr. Kraft, this is not fun anymore because I just don't enjoy playing for that guy. That'll force your hand.
Yeah.
Then what? Now what are you going to do? Thank you very much, Tom. See you later. You gonna pat him on the head and let him walk into the sunset? Because it could come to that.
He's made it abundantly clear how he views Tom Brady. He views Tom Brady in the same light he views his blood sons, Jonathan Kraft. He has 4 kids. Well, actually, he has 5 because Tom Brady is his.
I agree.
Tommy.
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 I mean, when you FaceTime, when a player is FaceTiming the owner
Yeah.
in Israel or on vacation, be it he's on vacation or the owner's on vacation, that lets you know the relationship or the type of relationship they have. Is very, very unique.
So we disagree on this, but if you pushed me into a corner and I ran, owned, and operated the New England Patriots, I'm telling Coach Belichick goodbye.
I ain't.
That's what I would do.
I'm telling Tommy.
Yeah.
He's out.
Tommy.
22s.
After all those Super Bowls,
22
near Super Bowls, and he just was the MVP of this league, and he threw for the most yards ever in a playoff game.
Joey, throw him up with me.
Yeah.
Deuces.
One of them's going to have to go eventually. Did Tony Parker throw Kawhi Leonard under the bus? We'll discuss that with Steven Jackson next.
Thanks. I got him out here for him.